prolonged buzz, the smell of burning fumes, the likes of the internal combustion engine is something that has changed the world forever. The engine has proven itself to be a pinnacle piece of machinery that through and through continues to power our everyday lives. From a design to powering your car, the engine has proven its worth on the everyday people by allowing people to drive anywhere. First, I will discuss the origin and upbringings of the engine, then I will talk about the multiple iterations to come involving the internal combustion engine, and lastly will be the future in which the internal combustion engine is headed. The revolutionary idea of the internal combustion engine can be looked to as one of the most important ideas spanning back to pre-industrial eras. In the book Gas and Petroleum Engines by H. de Graffigny, it states, the history of the gas engine may be said to date from a time when coal, gas, and petroleum were unknown. This statement appears at first somewhat paradoxical, but it arises from the fact that the first gas engine, invented by Abd Hotfeu in 1678, used the explosive force of gunpowder as a motive power, giving us the first insight into the internal combustion engine. From there, it wasn't until the year 1791 when the idea of combustion as a driving force began to reappear. It only took a few years for the patent of combustion using liquid and air to be made by Robert Street. By 1857, it was Otto Lingen that had made an atmospheric engine that, applying previous research into a concept that would almost make it into production. After all the years of research and development, it wasn't until 1860 when the Lenore engine was first created, which started a new era by being the first fully functioning industrial internal combustion engine. Although the idea took so long to be made, the internal combustion engine has now been solidified as a reliable source of power. According to the NASA webpage, last updated on May 5th, 2015, it states, today, most general aviation or private airplanes are powered by internal combustion engines, much like the engine in your family automobile. On this page, we consider the thermodynamics of a four-stroke internal combustion engine, explaining that the uses to come from this invention range very far. To my left, you can see the inner workings on what would be considered the Otto cycle engine. In the first stage, what you would see is known as the intake stage, collecting air and fuel. The next stage shown would be the compression stage, in which the intake is being closed. The third stage is a power stage using a spark or extreme pressure to ignite the mixture in the cylinder. The last and final step is the exhaust stroke, where the exhaust gas is produced or released. Although it was never easy to make the engine, it took a long time to establish what has been the powerhouse of your car. Now that we have discussed the invention of the internal combustion engine, let's continue with the way in which the internal combustion engine has evolved over time. As things eventually evolve, the importance to come from changing the design of the internal combustion engine has led to many of the biggest impacts in our lives. In the Funk and Wagnall's New World Encyclopedia, it states that the familiar gasoline engine used in most automobiles and some airplanes is usually a spark ignition engine with a power cycle of 4 piston strokes. This engine, which can be modified to run on a variety of alternative fuels, was invented by the German engineer Nicholas August Otto and is often called an Otto cycle engine, giving us a foundation to what is the most common powerhouse. This comes as something very important because it helped to create designs and even unique sounds to engines ranging up to 28 cylinders. Aside from this, there has been uses of what is known as a 2-stroke or a 4-stroke engine. Another format is a diesel engine using a compression system instead of a spark, which has been so useful that it powers our trains, ships, power generators, making everyone's life useful. Even a radical design named the rotary was introduced for the engine, which used a 3-cornered rotor and an oval housing, changing how an engine could operate, being that the engine helped to power so much, it wasn't only the designs that were the marvel. According to the Automotive Training Center website, it states, Gas engines are built in a number of layouts, including inline, V-type, boxer, and rotary, and can provide improved handling, efficiency, and performance. Diesel engines operate similarly to gas engines, but undergo a different ignition cycle, which help to state the fact that the engine does not stand as one thing, but expands itself into many different forms. To my left, the first display is what is known as a rotary engine, that as you can see is very different to what a normal engine would look like. Under it would be a very famous engine known as the RB26. Next to that one would be an engine block in the common layout known as the V8. The last image is that of a heavy industrial diesel engine used to power big transportation trucks. As engines were developed, the productivity and layouts never ceased to make some of the most important changes within our lives. After explaining the multiple evolutions the engine has gone through, it is now time to explain the future of the internal combustion engine. As we move forward into the 21st century, the use and improvement of the internal combustion engine is something that will impact our future for years to come. According to the New York Times, August 17, 2017, it states, "Among all the world's uncertainties, at least one matter seems settled. Batteries and electric motors will have a major role in powering the cars and trucks of our future. What is less certain is how large that role will be, or how quickly the shift to electrification will happen, giving us an insight to what the future for the combustion engine may look like. Certain companies continue to develop the engine in order to improve fuel efficiencies and emissions. Companies such as Mazda have developed new systems to produce 20 to 30% more efficiency. Even until the middle of the 21st century and further, combustion engines will still account for a high percentage of all power, while hybrid systems and forced induction will be a bigger alternative to produce better energy. Although the internal combustion engine may still be a viable solution during the near future, it is not always a permanent choice." In the book, The Global Technology Revolution, China, by Richard Silverglit, it states, "Initially, the public's increasing interest in reducing emissions in internal combustion engines and more recently, rising oil prices drove their growing market strength. Electric vehicles have been to date a niche market, but the distinction between the two is being blurred by the development of plug-in hybrids, in which the electric motor can be charged independently of the internal combustion engine, informing us of some of the process that may be changed." On the poster board to my left, the first image shown is the Skyactiv X engine that is in development by Mazda. To the bottom of this image is a picture of what the underpinnings of an electric car are, including an electric motor and the battery pack, showing the difference of what is needed to power something. Next to the underpinnings is a picture of another alternative fuel, big truck, which may become the next industry mover. On top of that image is what a hybrid vehicle looks like, sharing the internal combustion engine along with the electric drivetrain. Although time will tell, the internal combustion engine proved to be important, but the tight control in today's world may ultimately cause the demise of the internal combustion engine. To the testament of time, what once was just a simple idea helped to change and pioneer a future of many engineering feats. Today we learned about the invention of the internal combustion engine, the many evolutions it has gone through, and finally, the future that entails it. Through the years that have passed, the internal combustion engine has proven itself to be a very important invention and something to greatly benefit our everyday lives. The internal combustion engine will forever be something the world will never forget.